show for you today. I got a special guest from Manson's archives. The one, the only. Mr. James Dawson's going to join us here. Now, you've probably seen him on the Twilight Garage, and you've probably seen him with Billy Mintz on some other YouTube podcasters that are out there. You've probably seen them, and of course, we've all know that Billy Mintz has been doing. He's on the interview circuit there, and we know he's been doing a lot of interviews. So let me just, what do you say we just start the show? Let's play the music, hit the song one time, and let's do this. Hit the bong, and let's start this, man. Our guest is here, and we're ready to go. We only got about an hour, so I got to get a lot of stuff out real quickly. Shit. Happy birthday, Lee in Oregon. We'll get to your birthday party later. First, I gotta deal with this first. I know you're turning 65, but now you are technically a senior citizen. Just like the Manson family. The senior citizen Manson family. If you want some family conversation, come on and smoke a bottle with me. Take a tour with me now, down the Santa Susana paths. I got lots of family knowledge, and I'm stoned off my ass. I'm the small man's worker, and it fits me to a T. Some family conversation. Come on and smoke a bottle with me. All right. Stoner Van Houten. All right, first I want to do is just set the... All right, let me fix that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Stoner Van Houten, it's 5 p.m. here. Yes. It is Friday the 13th. Yes, Friday the 13th, 2024. You're watching a special edition of the STONER VAN HOUTEN Show where I don't normally do this. I'm not an interviewer. I'm not the kind of host that interviews people. I'll do the best I possibly can. But tonight I have a very special guest all the way from Manson's archives. This guy knows. Look, people, I don't know shit about the Manson case. I'm just here to promote it. But I'm going to talk to somebody that actually knows a lot. Him, Bo Emerson. You guys all know. But the one, the only, Mr. James Dawson. How are you doing, my friend?
How you doing, Stoner? I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, dude. Listen, before we get started, I want to just lay down a foundation of exactly where this community is. And look, I know you're doing interviews, and Billy Mintz is doing these interviews about Making Manson, which just came out on Peacock. And if you guys don't have Peacock, please get Peacock. Check it out, Making Manson on Peacock. It's up to you to decide whether it's good or not. I'm not going to tell you. You guys watch it for yourself. But anyway, get Peacock and watch it. Now, I know everybody's seen the video that me and Mike make, and I want us to just throw that aside and throw away everything that I did on the side. I want first just to let everyone know that this community and where you are now and this interview, this is a lot different than a lot of the interviews you're going to be doing or you already did with other people and other podcasters, because their community is not Manson-based. Now, you and I both know everybody that's involved with everything. You from Michael channels to fucking Nicholas Schreck to George Stimson, John Michael Jones to everybody. I mean, and even and same thing with John Michael Jones. He remembers me when I first got out of prison and I was living under the bridge and I was a bum and I was nobody. That's how far back John knows that, and he knows. And all I was doing was just trying to stay out of prison. So the thing with me, and I want to just make one thing very clear before we start. People call me a fanboy, and they just think I'm a fan. I'm this. That's not the truth. I use Spawn Ranch, and remember, it's called Spawn's Ranch. It's not called Manson's Ranch. It's called Spawn's Ranch. And I've actually talked to the grandchildren of George Spahn. I've interviewed the grandchildren of George Spahn at Spawn's Ranch. I've gotten their blessing at everything I do at that ranch, because that ranch will always be Spawn's Ranch. Not Manson's ranch, Spawn's ranch. That's why I got the respect of Spawn's family. And I needed to get that because I wanted them to know look, I'm using your land to give these tours. This is your land. This is your ranch. Look, I understand people came to live on it and now all of a sudden it became famous, but it was never theirs to begin with. It's always been yours. And the grandchildren of George Bond, all three of them, and you guys, I'll post the video again. Look, I've been through five different channels in the last 13 years. So I know if you've been following me that long, you guys know that that's why the video is not up. But I've interviewed the grandchildren of George Bond, and John and everybody else. They all know this. Everybody knows this. The community that's watching right now and that's going to watch this video is different than all the podcasters and all the people that I see you and Billy doing these interviews for. All those podcasters. I mean, come on, man. They are, first of all, they're podcasting about whatever, this and that, Luigi Mangione, blah, 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 all the current stuff. And it's amazing how somebody like Luigi Mangione can murder somebody and become famous. But then Manson, oh no, he's a bad guy. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Well,
anyway,
technically, yeah.
but,
I mean,
well,
I did get
but think
around
about
to
where
watch your review.
Think about where we've come. We've from 1969 to 2024. Now all of a sudden, Luigi Mangione, it's okay. Like people are like they want him to be set free. Like he's not a bad guy. He murdered somebody. But he murdered somebody and nobody thinks he's a bad guy. Well, I think he is. But there's some people out there that don't think he's a bad guy. But then again, Manson may or may not have said this or done that or said something in Mexico or done something in Mexico. I don't know what he did in Mexico, but he may or may not. And everyone's so ready to, he's a bad guy. But then we have Luigi Mangione murdering a CEO guy outside the building, and now everybody else. Look, I have the worst health care. I have Obamacare. It takes like months and months for me just to get a fucking appointment. I don't have what Blue Cross, Blue Shield, whatever it is. I don't have that shit. But do I complain? Look, I'm not going to go murder somebody. And that I don't know why this guy now is like becoming so famous, but yet, and nobody has a problem with it.
Like, well, no, and believe me, that guy's going to get more mail and you know this is true.
He's going to get more mail than Scott Peterson. He's going to get more mail. First of all, Manson got more mail than anybody. Then after he died, it was Scott Peterson was number one, the number one criminal who got the most mail. And now we're going to have this Luigi Mangione guy, and I feel bad for Chuck Mangione because Chuck Mangione is great. Anyway, but now he's going to start getting mail that up the yin yang and pictures and it's the same thing like Ramirez did. And you guys all know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
a lot of groupies.
But before we, yes. Now with that said, with me, the only reason why I got into Manson is I just knew about selling drugs and going to prison, and so when I got out in 2011. It wasn't my idea to be involved in Manson. It was my friend's idea. They were the ones who implied, hey, man, you need to do something with your life, which I understand. Keep yourself occupied so that way you don't get in trouble. And I live in Chatsworth, California. I live basically right across the street from Spawn Ranch. Is it my fault? I was right there. I live right there. I don't know if you guys ever been, right there at Topanga, Devonshire, right there at the 7-Eleven or whatever. You guys all know. You guys know the Chatsworth area, the San Fernando Valley. R2D2 would know, but he's probably... Anyway, so I picked the Spawn Ranch, and I start cleaning it. And that's all I do. I just start cleaning it, and then that gets the attention of the Manson family. I'm not kidding. This is how I got a hold of Blue. This is how I met George. This is how I met Lynette. This is how, because I just started taking care of the ranch, but all I'm trying to do is not go to prison. And that's what I've used, and I'm going to say the word used. That's what I've used the ranch for, is for my personal thing is not to go to prison. And John knows this because he knows when I lived under the bridge, I was doing nothing more than trying to stay out of prison. So I took Spawn Ranch and the Manson family. If that could help me be a better person, which it has, because now I've been free for 13 years and I'm never going back to prison because I've established something. Whether or not my credibility is shot amongst this community, it doesn't matter. But I know the same people you know. Well, Michael Channels, and I know George Stimson, and I know fucking Nicholas Schreck, and I know Bo Emerson, and who else you want to name? Name them all, man. And I know them. Whether or not they want to admit they know me, well, that's on them. But no, I'm just kidding. Look, George, I know. And I'm not here to do anything more except stay out of prison. Manson was not my friend. He was not my fucking dad. He He knew who I was because of phone calls and because of letters that I wrote to him. And Michael Channels has got, just as many phone calls about Manson talking about the letters I written. And Manson didn't even know Spawn Ranch was fucking a state park until I told him. Unless you got that on the tapes, unless you heard that on the tapes, Manson didn't even know the Spawn Ranch was a state park until I wrote him and told him it's a goddamn state park. Nothing else has ever been built there ever since you left. It wasn't a gas station. It wasn't a fucking apartment building. It wasn't anything. It's just been what it is. And he said, good, leave it alone. It's perfect for horses. That's all that area is good for, is horses. And he's right. Absolutely right, man. So it's not like he didn't know who I was, but he wasn't my friend. He wasn't my dad. He wasn't anything to me, man. All I'm trying to do is for myself, because I can only look out for myself. I'm just trying not to go to prison. So if it takes people thinking that I'm some kind of fanboy because I'm trying to stay free, and I've been free for 13 years, and this is the best 13 years of my life, and I have no intention of and I have no intention of ever going back. I'm not going back on dope. I'm not going to go back to selling pills, being a hustler, and all the things that get you involved in prison. Because what gets you sent to prison is money, drugs, and women. Okay, look. And yes, all those things combined, and yes, and so. With that said, I know that you know everybody that I know, and honestly, I don't care about what George knows, what this is, with John. But when anytime any kind of documentary comes out, of course, I'm on the side of me and Michael Channels and Backboard Saves and everything like that. And I know sometimes it comes off a little harsh, but we are speaking our minds. And a couple of questions I want to ask you, and I just want to start asking you right now about this whole thing, man. Now, I've watched a lot of the interviews you've done, and how you guys all got together. I don't need you to go that far, but right off the bat, you've heard all these tapes, right? Or not all of them, or most. How much of these tapes have you actually heard?
There is 20 years of tapes.
Yes, I know.
And I will say that they are being archived. Billy and John Michael are in the process of working on a podcast where other people can hear these tapes as well.
Is there honestly anything really that shocking on these tapes? Because the one thing I keep thinking about is that when you did this documentary, now it's just the 3 parts, right? Is any more coming out than what we saw?
There is more coming.
Now, the one thing that I saw on one of the interviews that Billy did, or Billy Mintz was saying, is that you hear a lot of interesting stuff, let's just say if it's between Tex and Manson and stuff like that, but it wasn't in the documentary. Why not? I don't understand why. Why don't you have that kind of stuff in there? Because that's what you want to hear. Why do we have to have the stuff where Manson took some LSD at Avalon Ballroom? Why do you think that? Why did they think that was more important to put in than the conversation between Tex and Manson?
Because Tex is technically not being cooperative, and until after his parole hearing, in fact, we were also going to reach out to Susan LaBerge, and his request was don't talk to her.
Right. So honestly, what you're basically saying is that you'll really never have any kind of real information, because since Tex is in certain situation, then all we're just going to hear is stuff that I like. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Look, I'm just saying I like the part where, he talks about the Avalon Ballroom and taking LSD. I read that in Shrek's book and everything, and it makes me think, well, hey, look, I know some people are saying, well, if Manson says it, then it must be true, and you're falling for it. Even Michael said that about me. Now, why would Manson lie about the first time he took acid? It has nothing to do with anything. It's like if I were to ask you, hey, did you ever take any LSD? Or if you were to ask me, why would I lie about it? So it doesn't matter. But I found it fascinating and I liked it, but it has nothing to do. You guys could have just kept that out of the documentary. Nobody would have cared if he saw the Grateful Dead and took acid, honestly. But
this is, like you had brought it up before when you did your side review with Michael Channels, that this is completely different from the Final Word documentary, which it is. Yeah. All other documentaries, even Charlie's interviews, are focused around the official narrative. you're not getting Chari's story directly from him. It's what other people wrote. Like Jeff Gwynne, for example, never spoke to Manson a day in his life and yet wrote a book about his history.
Right.
And I do want to say happy birthday, Lee.
A lot of people though have done that though. But think about this: George Stimson, Nicholas Schreck, Michael Channels, John Michael Jones. They all know Manson. The only 3 of them have actually visited him physically. I think George the most. George probably visited Manson like at least 200 times. I think that's what George told me. Yeah, about 200
like
times.
197,
Yeah, so, right. The way I look at it is like if anybody really knows Manson, it's George. For God's sakes, when you visit somebody that many times, come on. I mean, the documentary. Okay, look, I think the documentary is good because the tapes are interesting to hear. But just tell me right now, are we really going to hear anything that's really going to shock us? Because, in my opinion, I haven't heard anything yet. If anyone disagrees with me, if anyone has a question for James, then if you guys think I'm doing a terrible job, then you ask James a question. I want him to come on here and talk to you.
Let me give you an example that I gave earlier in a previous interview. You know, Susan Atkins claimed that she lost her knife at the Tate residence after she was fighting with Frykowski.
Right.
That knife was never found on the residence.
That's not true.
No, that was Linda Kasabian's knife that was found.
Wait. So in the interview with Vincent Bugliosi, where he says, and I can play it for you if you want. Vincent Bugliosi says that Susan Atkins' knife was found and there was no blood on it, and he was never actually sure if she.
That was Linda's knife.
Bugliosi, but it's all about what Bugliosi says. It doesn't. Of course, he's wrong. We all know he's wrong.
If you go back to Susan Atkins, go back to Susan Atkins's 12/3 interview with her attorneys, and she specifically says she lost her knife. It couldn't be found. So then she says she went out to get Linda's knife, and Linda's knife is the knife that was found in the chair cushion with no blood on it. Clem actually described the knife that was found in the chair cushion and said it was Linda's knife. He had possession of that knife for a couple of days before he gave it back to her.
So let me ask you this. So if Susan actually lost the first knife, is there blood on that first one?
That would have been the knife she gave Charlie.
Well, no. Okay, wait. Well, wait a minute. You just wait a minute. You just said she lost her knife, and then she goes to get Linda's knife.
Linda's knife. Linda had a knife. Patricia had a knife. Tex Watson had a knife.
And Bugliosi says that he found. But I'll play it for you if you want. But Bugliosi says they found Susan's knife, and there was no blood on it. I'm just wondering.
Susan's knife had Susan in the interview with her attorneys on 12/3 before the grand jury testimony describes her knife as having tape around the handle. The knife that was found in the house was a buck knife, Linda Kasabian's knife.
Interesting. Because Bugliosi said there was no blood on that knife.
Bugliosi doesn't know his bum from a hole in the ground.
It doesn't matter what he says. He's the one that convicted. That's the thing, though.
Okay.
He also had to admit that Susan didn't kill anybody after she took credit for it.
I don't think that Susan killed anybody else. See, that's the thing. Look, if anybody did any damage, first of all, can we agree on one thing?
Tex had nothing to do with Gary Henman. That's strictly just Bobby. Okay. Now, Shorty Shea. Let's talk about Shorty Shea. Shorty Shea, This is where Manson is involved. This is where Manson, even if Manson is found, in my opinion, Manson's found innocent on the Tate LaBianca, you can still get him on the Shorty thing. And look, he participated in the Shorty. Yes, he definitely participated in the Shorty thing. Him, Clem, Tex, Bruce Davis, they were there for the Shorty thing. Okay. Now, when it comes to the at the Tate house. And when it comes to Tate house,
it was conspiracy. Okay.
Who killed fucking Jay Sebring? That was Tex. Who killed fucking Vortex Kelsey? That's Tex. Who killed fucking okay, now Abigail Folgers, you can just honestly tell that that was sloppy. That was very sloppy between her and Crenway. Very sloppy, and then Tex finishes them off. Now when it comes to Sharon, look, Sadie probably did say, "Hey, bitch, we don't give a fuck about you and your baby," but honestly, that's not illegal. I mean, that's not illegal. I mean, you could say that to some. It's cruel. and it's terrible. But that's about the worst thing I think Susan Atkins actually did was probably say that to Sharon Tate. But did she ever put a knife in her? No. Did she ever?
No.
Was she there holding her down? Probably. Was
Yes.
Kasabian there probably holding her down? Was Kasabian there probably holding her down? I think so too. I think that
Well,
there's a
they
lot of
did.
well,
There's a lot of discrepancy when it comes to the penalty phase, and this is where Nick Shrek and I clash big time. Because his basis is that it was a drug burn, and that came from Susan's grand jury testimony. But and the basis that he uses that from is from one of her parole hearings. But right after the attorney is speaking, Deborah Frazier, Susan repudiated her penalty phase testimony and said it
right.
was all lies. So we're back at square one with Linda.
Can anyone say that though with a grand jury that it's just lies?
I mean, if it can
During
you
the
really just
parole hearing, well,
Can
when
you
it came to the penalty phase, you got to remember, Stoner, that the defense rested on just merely a day or two after the prosecution rested. So they didn't get to testify at the main part of the trial. So when it came part for them to actually testify, it was during the penalty phase, and they could say the sky was peeing pink lemonade, and it's not going to change anything. But for Manson, it was the conspiracy part, and there are several sources that back up what he says when he said that when he learned from Susan and Linda what the plan was, he was going to leave. And one of those sources is Lynette, and she talked him into staying.
right?
So there has to be truth to it, unless we want to argue that Lynette read Manson in his own words before working on her book.
Well, I mean,
It's blonde
well,
Lily.
it's yeah, actually, well, it's actually not far fetched because I know for a fact that Lynette actually, when she was first writing her book, it,
in the very very beginning, it actually she had to rewrite it again because she was sending stuff out and she thought it was getting through and then it didn't get through, so it kind of fucked things up. So I know it had to actually be rerouted again. All right. Anyway, let's just move on. All right. Hey, how much was Bo Emerson involved with this project? From
Bo
you know,
was great for providing a lot of the transcripts, especially parole hearings, where when it, like I said, when it comes to text, because text showed us my stories remain the same. Well, we've got parole hearings where he's gone through years later and admitted to stuff that Charlie said was true.
well, no, well, yeah, I actually have some of his psychological evaluation reports that you can hear. Plus, right, what he said in court, his psychological report, this and that. I mean, in one of his psychological reports, he says that he never said I never said I'm here to fucking do the devil's business. And he said he went in through the front door and Susan opened the front door. So, yeah, you're right. He contradicts himself a lot between his book, the psychological, the reports, and then what he said at the trial. So, yes, you're right. He's very difficult. He can't really trust what he's saying.
Well, he also admitted while working on his book that he read Helter Skelter several times.
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
I'm sure he probably did. I mean, yeah,
you have to. You have to. Actually, I recommend everyone to read that book to see what got them convicted, and then to read other people's books. And there are other people besides. We're talking about George Simpson. We're talking about Neil Sanders' book. Now it's the only thing that's real. George Simpson's book, Goodbye Helter Skelter. Nicholas Schreck's book, Manson File. Now, Myth and Reality of an Outlaw Shaman. These are books people can read now. I know a lot of people have a problem with Tom O'Neill's book, but the only thing I'll say about Tom O'Neill's book is just the very beginning, the Vincent Bugliosi stuff I like, and that's it. Maybe like the first 25 pages. That's it. And then after the first 25 pages, then throw the rest of the book into the fireplace, and that's fine. And you get that. Yeah. But other than that, though, look, there's a lot of differences out there. I'm just more curious about these tapes now. Let's just go back to I'm going to talk about the, what's his name? The Rose guy. What was his name? Rose?
Alan Rose.
Alan Rose. Okay. I think, first of all, the whole family, the word has really been is way out of overrated. I think the
Mhm.
whole everything's it's wrong when when we say we're calling this guy out saying a family member, because people like me and other people that I know who actually know other family members, when someone says family member and you never heard this guy, then that word is used so loosely, too
Yeah.
loosely. Where it would have just been better if they would have just said, "Oh, Alan Rose, psychologist," or whatever it is he is, or his title, or his job title, or something like, or friend of the family, or something like that. But when you put, that's the problem. Even though it has nothing, I mean, it doesn't make any. I mean, look, honestly, I don't give a shit because I already know that's not. It's just a word that they use. Even Manson has said there is no Manson family. There was a band called Family Jams, and there's. I mean, what the media makes up family. So the word family is completely very, very loose. Look, I think I thought he was good. He wasn't the most fascinating thing to me. The best thing about the documentary was Stephen Parent's brother. Honestly, he was the best because
Greg.
I didn't know anything about Stephen Parent's brother, and his information to me was amazing. It was great. Hearing Manson's voice was great. But like I said before, if you and Billy are going on these other shows and saying that you've heard this good information between Manson, this and that, then why wasn't that in the documentary to begin with?
It's
Why
hard
can't
to
you?
get so much in there for 3 minutes. We fought to keep what Diane said, where she admitted that she lied. We fought to keep it in where
Yeah,
when
Billy
she
says in
said
that last interview that you sent me, he says that half the stuff in her books wasn't even true. He says that
no,
in the last interview,
she
that link
admitted
that
to
you
that.
sent. Yes,
Yes,
half the
she
stuff in her book isn't even true.
yes she admitted that, and that's why the camera pans on her, and she finally says, "I don't know what the truth is anymore."
Because she was too damn young. She was so fucked up before she even got to Manson. Her parents,
Yes,
and
that is true.
nobody will ever put the blame on the parents because that's where it is. It was the parents. She was so far gone before she met Manson, but yet Manson will get the blame for that. All right. Anyway, but anyway, with the Alan Rose guy, yes, he was interesting. Family was just used loosely, and we have no problem with that.
Well, with Alan also, he was also, according to what he said, he was the go-between Roger Smith when Michael had to be taken away from Mary for a while, and he was the one that got Mike put in custody of Roger Smith.
Wait, well, oh, is that what you're talking about? Wait, Alan
Yeah.
Rose?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, so wow, interesting.
He
Okay,
was
so I'm going
there
down
in the
another.
beginning, and this was, I'm not sure,
Why
because
is that? A lot of people were there, but the thing is it costs just to use that word family. That's the problem. It doesn't really
right,
matter. It
right.
just better be
But
done
I
at a better
mean,
time. But
I mean, but
that's
if
not
you look at it, uh, anybody that was associated with Charlie at some point was called a family member. Phil Kaufman was called a family member at one point.
because it was easy just to say family. You could just say associate. Do you think how many people that actually joined the family and they never met Manson or any of the girls after the arrest? What about Jenny Gentry? She wasn't there in the
What's his name?
She came, a lot
Chuckleberry.
of yeah. It was actually easier to become a Manson family member once Manson and the girls weren't there. Well,
Hmm.
Manson's not there, and you're just going to the ranch or going to well, of course. Now it's easy. So
Yeah,
a
because
lot of
I know
associates.
Sandra didn't remember Alan Rose, but from what I understood, he came around before she did.
What what about Mr. X? Have you ever seen with H. Allegra Lansing, Mr. X? And what about him? Have you ever heard of him, the Mr. X guy? What I mean, does anyone know him? Maybe that's Alan Rose. I mean, how do we not know
No,
Mr. X?
it's not Alan. This it's not Alan.
Well,
I've heard of the story with Mr. X, but it's totally different. It's not Alan because Alan was well hidden in the woodwork.
so what do you? Okay, besides what we put out, what you guys put out right now with the tapes and everything, what is there really anything? I mean, is there something like we should really look forward to next that's coming out that's going to be better? Because I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was good. I liked hearing Manson's voice. The clarity was HD. John's got some great tapes there. That was great. I mean, like I said, the LSD. I mean, look, Manson saying he killed people in Mexico. I don't really care for that. To me, doesn't shock me because as you know, and I know, George know, anyone who's ever talked to Manson knows he will tell you at times what you want to hear. He will give you what you want. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt. So I'm not going
That
to believe
is
everything.
true. That is true. But
So
I will say, within those tapes, there was indeed a very closeness between Charlie and John Michael Jones.
then why isn't that in the doc? Then why? Who cares about him taking acid in San Francisco? Oh, acid in the Avalon Ballroom is more important than that. That's the thing. If you wanted to make this a great documentary, you got to put that stuff in it, not this other
John,
stuff.
I
Yeah.
agree with Billy. I agree with Billy 100%. John, it's not John. The story is not John. He's the vehicle for us to get it out there and to continue to get the rest of it out.
Right, but it seems like if you show any kind of like remorse or any kind of like, look, telling the truth is not being on Manson's side. So if you show that Manson actually was a caring, nice guy and he actually wasn't that bad, which we all know he wasn't, but if you seem to go that way, that's not like saying that I'm on his side. I think you guys, not you, but I think a lot of other people are so worried about like you have sympathy now, like you can't show the truth. It's different. There's a difference between truth and sympathy. If it's the truth about Manson, this is the way he really acted, and he wasn't what you guys think, then say it. It doesn't mean you're on his side. It doesn't mean you're favoring him. It doesn't mean, oh, look, show some sympathy. No, this is the truth. Sometimes the truth just hurts. And this is the way he was. But everybody wants to believe he's just that guy, with Tom Snyder and Geraldo and jumping on the table and doing all this wacky stuff. And that's the Manson we grew up with, that media Manson bullshit. But the rest of us, just like Billy said in that interview, look, they knew Manson before us. The girls did. Everybody else. He was not like what we think. He isn't. I'm thinking about it. Before he got arrested from 67 until 69, whether it's Dennis Wilson or whoever or Neil Young, they all knew that real Manson. A pot dealer, a hustler. This is the way he is. Look, is he a good guy? No, he's not. He's a fucking parolee who's fucking homeless. I've been the same exact thing. I had to hustle too, man. I had to do illegal things while on parole. I mean,
I'll be the first
does
to
that make
tell
me a
you.
bad guy? Does that make me a bad guy though? But I would do those bad things if I wasn't doing what I had now. Now I know they didn't have the internet back then for him, but I'm just saying.
I'll be the first to tell you he wasn't a good person, but at the same time, he's not the person that the media portrayed.
I know everybody who gets $200 coming out of the gate at Corcoran, and I've come out of Corcoran with $200. Does that make me? I'm a bad guy now too.
No.
Oh, I'm a bad. You can become a better guy. You're a bad person at times. I'm not saying Manson became, but he never did, because there was never a time in his life where it was good. Just never, dude. Like honestly, never. Maybe like when he was a baby. But the first few months, the first 6 months when he was a baby, the first year, okay, that was probably good. And after that, then it went to shit. So,
well, he's also a product of the system as well.
But he's just a homeless parolee who's doing whatever it takes. He's never had a job. He's never really owned anything. He's a hustler. And but if you guys seem to have these tapes where it shows Manson as that kind of person, it's like, wait a minute. He's not a hippie cult leader. He has no magical powers. It would just seem like you're sympathizing with him, and it would be like, that's not what we're trying to do.
Well, like I've said,
that would be the truth.
Hold on to your britches. More is coming.
Well, I hope so, because what we've seen so far has been good. It's been good. I like it. It's been good. I was just, I think we're all just kind of hoping for great, because every documentary is the same. We kind of always see the same stuff and the same helter-skelter, and we're kind of expecting just a little bit something more. And we know you have more. Well, we don't know. You guys say that you know, and hopefully that more comes out.
It's going to. I mean, John Michael just had a recent tragedy, and so the recording on their podcast has come to a stall. But I believe they're already 4 or 5 episodes in before it even starts. And these tapes are being archived, and they'll be able to be heard. The public will be able to hear them. There were things in those tapes, learning, just learning from the Charlie that was friends with John Michael, that I could have never even imagined the man to be. I mean, this is a man who loved John Michael so much that he would take a little bit of money that he had in commissary and send it to John Michael to get Maddox a Christmas present from Uncle Charlie.
Yeah, but I've heard Manson do the same thing for TJ and send people money gas money for them to visit him up to. It's not like, look, it's not like John First of all, John wasn't the only Manson's friend. I mean, what about Michael Channels? What about Nicholas Schreck? What about George Stimson? Those three people right there actually visited Manson. John never
Well,
visited. The only time he ever saw him was when he was in the casket kissing him. That was when he saw him in the casket.
well, I
That
mean,
was
even Channels said in his last video that it had been several years since he talked to Charlie, and it was through John Michael that they reconnected.
but at least he visited. And he saw him, and he was his friend. I mean, John makes it sound like he was the only one that took care of him and sent him packages. I mean, look, at West Sunshine, there's other people. But what about Ben Gorenke? Or what about there's another guy in New York, whatever his name. There's other people who've actually helped out. I mean, come on. I mean, look, it's great that he recorded all the stuff and they're tight and everything. But you know, but for him to say, all this, like, like he acts like he's his dad or something. I'm glad he has
They had a very, very close relationship.
I'm sure they did, and I'm sure it was great, and I'm sure it helped out John when John was going through a tough time. But I could say the same thing about myself. Hey, man, look, I've never met Manson. I never met Manson, but I just took a piece of land called Spawn Ranch where they happen to stay, and I used it to my advantage so I could be a better person, and it made me a better person. Even though some of you guys think I'm a nut, doesn't matter. But I'm not. Look, I never knew the guy, but I appreciate the story. I appreciate everything else. Am I a fan? No. I'm not here. I don't advocate murder. I don't advocate shit. I advocate the truth. And maybe one day we'll actually find it out, but I doubt it because entire time
this documentary is getting us towards that helter skelter being pushed away. Because did you read the Time Magazine article?
About what? About this?
Yes. It specifically says we need to re-examine this case, the Manson case.
And if they do you think it would look? I mean, it's kind of
It's not about exonerating Charlie.
Right, exactly.
Because this has happened.
It is, though. That's the thing is, your doc could make it look like it is, and people could get offended by that.
Well, that's true, but it's not. But let's look at other Charlie, like Billy said, he may become the poster boy for wrongful convictions. Let's look at another case where conspiracy played in, and somebody was sent to death row, and that's the West Memphis Three.
Yes. Oh.
So see how this documentary, the importance of this, can cause other cases to be re-examined, and other innocent people that are on death row could possibly be released. When you have a magazine like Time Magazine saying, we need to really re-examine this Manson case, that's huge.
It is huge because it kind of looks like, I think we all know that back then in '69, the courts were a lot different and they can kind of get away with shit. You can't get away with that shit now. I honestly don't think this case can be tried the exact same way. No way. It wasn't Mickey Mouse courtroom.
Right, but if this trial would have taken place today, Charlie,
I think it'd be a mistrial. I think it would be it has to be a mistrial. Somebody holding up a newspaper.
You had Nixon declaring him guilty. You had the Helter Skelter Party,
right?
And Bugliosi, like the kill list, the famous kill list, that was bogus. And Bugliosi leaked that out to the press to William Farr, and was charged for perjury in that. There was no kill list that included Elizabeth Taylor or Frank Sinatra. Just like there was the kill list. Well, I actually call it a kill kit, where the day that's August the 8th, when Sandy and Mary got arrested, it was said that Mary had a list in her purse that called for rope and knives and other. This so-called list was never presented into evidence.
Right. Interesting, man. Interesting. No, man. Listen, I think the documentary was, it was all right. It was cool. They're running out of people to fucking, interview because everybody's dying. I know this was Linda Deutsch's last thing that she ever did.
Well, Greg Jacobson is not in good health either.
Yeah, dude. First of all, Phil Kaufman, Jesus Christ, how old? He's got to be 90 something. Like, he's older than Manson, isn't he? I mean,
I think he's 90. I believe he's 90.
He's got at least 90. I mean, Jesus, it's this. And look, honestly, in my opinion, everybody that was in this, except for Stephen Parent's brother, because he was he was fresh, he was new. I didn't even know Stephen had a brother. That
He's
was
got
awesome.
another brother too.
Right. That was actually very good. That was my favorite part of the whole thing. Really, was that part. But anyway, the others, they all had a look on their face like they were just tired of doing these documentaries. I swear. I mean, like Diane Lake, Catherine Scher, Greg Jacobson, Phil
I'll
Coppell.
say about Diane. I don't really have anything bad to say about Diane. She's actually really sweet. Loves to talk.
No,
She'll talk your ear
she's
off
really
in
sweet.
letters.
Right. I think she's really sweet and stuff, but I think the problem is that now we find out that really you're making money and you're living off something that you didn't even know really would happen. It's kind of like me writing a book about something, but I wasn't really there, but I wrote a book about it, but I was there, but I forgot. Like now that we know that, look, a lot of people don't believe her because you're so young. How could you look? I don't even remember being 14. You're 14. You're on dope. You're this and that. Your parents have already treated you so badly and let you've done whatever you want. Things that a 13 and 14-year-old girl would never be doing. And then all of a sudden, then you meet the Manson family. And then all of a sudden, it's Manson's fault. It's like, no. Look,
Well,
if you have a
here's the
child,
thing.
parents take care. Look, be responsible for your children. That's your children.
Exactly.
Her parents,
Exactly.
her parents allowed her to do dope, have sex with older men, and that's on her parents. That's not on
Yes.
Manson. They are the ones who fucked her up. And take responsibility for your children. Once you throw them into the street after you've already let them do this and suck and fuck and snort and shoot and whatever because you want your freedom, it's a commie, you don't want to live with a part of society because that's your values. Now you've set her right out to the fucking wolves, and you did. That's on you.
Well, I'm going to say something in defense of Diane, and this was something she had said behind the scenes, but I kind of suspected it as well. She was in a mental institute for a little while before she went to testify, and she said that
Yes.
Bugliosi came in to see her, and she was told Charlie did those things, but and she was talking about this, but then of course it got cut. But then you hear her saying, I don't know what the truth is anymore.
Right.
She admitted she was told.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people never believed her story. Like when her book first came out, I had so many fucking emails from people and notes. People were like, who is this? They didn't even know who she was. They didn't know her by the name Diane Lake until you said the word snake. Like she was the one that was called Snake. Oh, she's the one called Snake. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, God. Like, I'm not kidding. Nobody fucking knew who she was when her book came out. And that's why she spent years on the road. Dr. Phil, every true crime con there was, everything there was, man, she was on everything. Everything. And she's probably made a shitload of money. And good for her. Good for her. After her husband died, I know. This is all after her husband died, by the way, because now she can tell her story. Her kids already knew. She even told the story of her when she told one of her sons that who she was. Her son slept with a baseball bat in his bed because he was scared of his own mom. I mean, I'm not both.
Mm-hmm.
She's even said this. I mean, wow. I mean, look. But for a 14-year-old girl who's been through hell, and she went through hell. She went through absolute hell. I'm surprised she remembers anything at all. And I don't believe half, like, when that book came out and I heard half the stuff in there, I'm like, no. And I bought the book. That's actually the only Manson book I've ever actually physically bought myself. I went to Barnes and Noble and I went and I bought Diane's book, and that's it. I've never bought any other Manson book. But I did buy her book and I did read it. And I'm like, no, some of this is the best part of her book is the very beginning of her book where it talks about her and her relationship with her parents. Great. Mm-hmm. After that, then the rest of it, forget it.
Now, she did remember, because she was told on the stand that she could lie and she could never be charged with perjury. Bugliosi told her on stand, you can say whatever you want to, and we can't charge you for perjury. You know that.
Right.
And she did remember that, and then she did remember breaking down and start kind of crying and saying, I want my mommy.
Okay, first of all, Captain, she's you guys ever, she was 14 and she was raped by a madman. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. her parents gave her a note saying that she could be with anybody, and she went to go live with a couple in Topanga Canyon who used her as a sex toy. This is well before she even met Manson in Topanga Canyon. So you're saying it's okay for this couple to use Diane as a sex toy, which they did, and then they threw her to Topanga Canyon, and then she met Manson. So you're saying Manson's the bad guy after this couple fucking molested her and raped the shit out of her and used her as a sex doll? Oh, no. Manson's totally
She
bad.
did admit
But
that
the
was
family's
true. She
totally
did
fine.
admit that was
But
true.
come on. It was totally true, man. Yes, and she got, look, her parents are the ones to blame, not Manson. I don't know why you guys want to put everything on Manson. Stop having kids. Stop being parents. If your child becomes a fucking serial killer, that's on you. That's not on anybody else. Or becomes a fucking asshole, that's on you. If your child becomes an idiot, it's because you're a fucking idiot parent. That's it. So don't have fucking kids.
And they just gave her away.
She was raped by the couple that took her. Yeah, she was raped by everybody, dude. She was raped by people at the commune that her parents let her get raped and fucking do drugs with. Don't give me that shit, dude. Come on, Captain, stop it, dude. Stop.
I mean,
Don't stop it.
if you want to get technical, even Linda Kasabian's guilty of that because she admitted to that in her testimony.
I mean,
with Diane.
What she admitted? What?
She admitted about a little fling with her and Diane.
Well, yeah, because Diane was used to being with whoever. Remember, it was the 60s. Everybody's experimenting. It's a commune.
Free love.
We're getting free love. We're getting away from the system. Fuck Nixon. You know, oh. Listen, people. Parents have got to take responsibility for their children. That's what you got to do. Man, in Diane Lake's case, Manson did not fuck her up. She was so fucked up before she even got to Manson. Manson just gets blamed at the end because he was the last person to hang out with her. So it's kind of like in sports. The last thing the referee sees you touch, then you get the flag on you. So get the hell out of there. Now, anybody else you want to make a case that's different than whatever. Now, I want to talk to you also about how else. Okay, look, one of the questions that you kind of avoided in that podcast thing that I saw was you guys were talking about the Manson family being paroled, whether it was Clem or Lynette Fromey or Leslie Van Houten. All three of those have been paroled. And I'll answer that question. I mean, I don't understand why you guys just couldn't answer that question. Like, do you think it's okay for them to be paroled? Because honestly, I believe in rehabilitation. And if you qualify for it, just like anybody else does, and you're free to go out, then you should go out. Because people get paroled every year. Just because you're in the Manson family doesn't mean it should be any different. So Clem got out, and Lynette got out, and Leslie got out. 3 Manson family members have been paroled.
But at the same time, I can't speak on how it feels towards the victims' families.
Right, but that's not. It's not their. It doesn't matter what they feel. It's what the state of California applied. It's what the rules are. Remember, we're following the rules. The rules of California state if you do this, this, and this, and you qualify for that, we can let you go. So if we let you go, then I don't see why the victim's family should have any part. They should be mad at California. Don't be mad at that they let them out. California, look, everybody acts like because the Manson family are like in control of their destiny. They were sentenced to death, and then in 1972, California became a pussy state, and we decided to give them life with the possibility of parole. That's where California went wrong. If they would have just cut out with the possibility, we wouldn't even be doing this show right now. You wouldn't even be doing the documentary, and that's a fact. Tell me right now, if they would have been sentenced life without parole, would you have even done the doc?
Well, I think, yeah, because we still have the whole conspiracy part on Charlie.
But they would have never gotten out. Nobody would. No, but it's different. I think it's different. Look, here's where California went wrong in 1972. They sentenced them to life with the possibility of parole. With the possibility of parole. With the possibility of parole. That's a heavy statement right there because the meaning behind that means if you do this, and this, and you are good, you qualify for a panel of people to decide whether or not they want to release you. And in some cases, they actually do. Clem went home, Lynette went home, and Leslie went home, and a lot of other parolees went home who murdered people who aren't high-profile people that were never in the Manson family, but they still murdered people, and they got paroled. It happens. It just happens.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's take Sandra and Lynette, for example. If Lynette had that, what they call the killer's instinct, she could have killed Ford, but she didn't. Her sentence
No.
was just ridiculous and thereafter.
Yes.
And Sandra would not even take a parole.
No.
But at the same
But
time, knowing the things that I know, I have a little bit of issue with it as well. And that is knowing that I know that Charlie told them to say whatever they need to say if it helps them get out, that they're willing to lie and put it off on him to remove the responsibility off of themselves for their actions. Because
I think
Bobby is going helter skelter now.
oh yeah. First of all, I think that's just because he's a 32-year-old man who's already done prison time, and he's probably just saying, "Hey, look, throw it on me. You guys are young, and you still have something ahead of you, so I'll take it." And I think that's the way I kind
And
of
in
look at
those
that. Like,
recordings, no matter what happened, even towards Tex Watson, he did not have a bad word to say about Tex Watson. He didn't have a bad word to say about Susan Atkins. He was
why would
even angry. He was even angry that she wasn't even released on a compassionate release.
I mean, he wasn't a big fan of Leslie Van Houten either.
He didn't know Leslie that long. In the recordings, he said he only knew her about 6 months.
Right, 6 months exactly. Slept with her a couple times. That he was Bobby's girl.
That was it.
Right.
That was it. Exactly. But let's look at it too. Charlie was very rarely there at the ranch. For him to be such a hippie cult leader, he was a very bad cult leader because he was always gone.
Exactly. And people are like, well, how come the girls didn't escape? First of all, the only time you ever escape is when you get kidnapped. Mm-hmm. Where are these girls going to escape from Spawn Ranch and go where? What, back to Venice Beach? Do you know how many different guys that are homeless that will just take advantage of them? I don't understand where people want them to go. Like, there was no, look, they are homeless. They are, all these people are homeless. The entire Manson people, to me, are just a bunch of homeless people who are doing whatever it takes to hustle, which is exactly what I did. I was paroled from Corcoran right to the streets, and I started hustling, selling fucking prescription pills, doing whatever I took. It didn't matter, as long as, keeping my nose clean from parole and, doing the best I can to try to not go back to prison. Then all of a sudden I find out what YouTube is, and my friends are like, start a YouTube channel. And now here we are 13 years later, and now here we are. Now I got lucky. And that's all the reason why I'm doing this. Not everybody does that when they come out of prison, but I understand when you come out of prison, look, he had nothing. He paroled from terminal life to what? He didn't have it. To what? He had no address. He was homeless. They're just a bunch of homeless people doing what they needed to do. They're criminals, petty criminals. No way did he have any magical powers. If he was a hippie cult leader, you're right. Why would he leave them alone so much? Did Jim Jones ever leave his people alone for weeks and weeks at a time while he goes up and down California selling, acid or hanging out with girls or no? That's a real fucking cult leader. Every time you say Manson's a hippie cult leader, that's a slap in the face to Jim Jones, a real cult leader who put the time and the effort and the work to making you believe who he was. And Manson is nothing more than a two-bit criminal. He's a very good pimp. Pimps are very good manipulators. Go right now to your local, city and find your local pimp, and you'll find out that they're very good manipulators. And we'll take care of you. We'll do this. It's almost like a pastor of a church. We'll take care of you. We'll feed you. We'll give you what you want. We'll tell you what you want to hear. Here you go. Just believe in what we believe in, and everything's fine. And that's what a pimp is. Next thing you know, so Manson was. And I'm not trying to defend him. All I'm trying to say is that this is in my opinion, the truth. He is a bad guy. He's a criminal because that's the way he was raised. It's not his fault. His whole life was shit. He's always been a criminal. I understand that. Good for him. And that's it. He did the best he possibly could. And if he never ran into George Spawn or Lynette or Sandy or any of these people, he still would have done what he did. Or not the murder part, but just still be who he was, hustling this and that on the street, this and that. If there was never a Manson family, but there was still a Manson, he would still just be another just hustler on the road who just came out of fucking prison.
To answer your question,
wow.
that's why I avoid it. I don't. Okay, it's great that they get out, but I don't agree with how they're doing it because the way they're doing it is.
Do you think Patricia Krenwinkel is rehabilitated?
I believe she would be. Yes.
I believe she is. I do. Look, whether or not she deserves to be out, that's not my decision. Do I think she's rehabilitated? Yes, after 56 years.
Now think about this. Now think about
I,
this with
I,
Katie.
but I will say this: I don't know about Bobby. I'll tell you right now, I don't know about Bobby because I would have to look at his resume. I'm not sure what Bobby's been doing for the last 55 years that he deserves to get. Because I know
We
there's
were
some weird
going to
shit.
talk to Bobby. We were going to talk to Bobby, and Gypsy was supposed to make that happen. She's still in very close contact with Bobby, just like she is with Leslie. Um, that's when we found out Bobby is leaning towards Helter Skelter now. And of course, in your past documentary, the final word, he said he would rather stay in prison than get out on a lie. So, say this is where I kind of, it's great that they're rehabilitating themselves, but I don't agree with them putting it off on Manson, absolving themselves from the things they did. You have to remember, Patricia also said the night Sharon Tate, Frykowski, Folger, and Parent were killed, that's 5 less people polluting the environment.
Right, but okay. But here's the difference, though. That I understand what they said at that time, but after 55 plus years of, when I say rehabilitation, I mean class study, this and that. It doesn't really matter. We know what got you there, but we want to know in the time that you've been here, are you that same person? And if you're a different person, then I don't see why. Then why did we put in all this time of 55 years if you're just going to bring in the day that I got here? That always will be against me, and that's not
You
fair
know,
and
I found it
rehabilitation.
interesting in those recordings too, when Charlie found out Patricia was starting to swing towards Helter Skelter. There was a good 5, 6 seconds of silence, and Charlie says, and I quote Charlie, "Man, as long as I've known that broad, I've never known her to tell a single lie."
Well, I think they have to because they think, look, they've seen what already was happened with Leslie getting out. And I honestly think after Leslie got out, Tex and Patricia and Bobby probably all thought, even Bruce, Bruce should be out, but they all really thought, hey, maybe we have a chance. Like, really, I mean, it's kind of amazing to me. I mean, I look with Tex and with, especially with Tex, the fact that he's holding on to this, thinking like I may have a chance, even though we all know that if anybody knows the truth, it's him. What, and the text, and don't forget the text tapes. I still want to hear the text
Well, the
tapes. I
thing
still
about
think
those text tapes is if you've read his book, it makes it explicitly clear that those tapes are based off the book. And I do have a newspaper article from the late 80s that I'll send to you about a reporter that heard the tapes. And in those tapes, he does admit it that after he went and did what he did with Frykowski, he goes back in, Sharon's still alive, and he stabs her 15, 16 times.
right.
I'll send
So
that
yeah,
to you.
so there is look. So I think they have to stick to that helter skelter. They have no choice. You can't go back on what you said from 55 years ago. You just can't. You can't change your story now. Then why didn't you say something earlier? So whether or not,
Well,
and we
they
don't know.
told the truth. They told the truth when they testified. They
No, but
told the truth. That's the thing,
they were
Stoner. They told the truth. Leslie specifically said, "Hey, I was watching a TV show. Linda and I came up with this idea to commit copycat killings so we could make confuse Helter Skelter, the police, which means confusion." Charlie acknowledged this in his trial transcripts, uh, to make the police think that Bobby didn't kill Gary Hinman. Susan Atkins admitted that the motive for the murders was to commit copycat killings. But then when it comes to time for parole, they jump ship with Bugliosi, thinking they can get out.
right.
So when they
That's all.
do tell the truth, it doesn't matter. So they just drop and put it off on Manson, which absolves them of their thoughts and their ideas and putting those into action. They told the truth when they testified.
But it didn't come out that way, though.
Actually, it did. I actually have newspaper recordings where the media was indeed uh, reporting that the killings were committed to confuse the police for copycat killings. Even one with the prosecution admitted this was it.
Oh yeah, yeah. The copycat. Okay.
Yeah.
The copycat. Yes, the copycat killings. Yes. All right. Let's get a little sidetracked here. All right, we're just taking in everything that you said, bro. All right, Stoner Van Houten here. I'm talking with James Dawson from Manson's Archives, man. We're talking about the Making Manson that's on Peacock. If you haven't seen it, it's called Making Manson. It's on Peacock. It's basically John Michael Jones presents these tapes that he's had over the years of talking with Manson, and they play him and stuff like that. And they also try to do a shock value thing to play him for other people, which I thought was kind of cool in a way. But when they heard hey, I'm just curious, did you get to ever? You probably didn't, but you never got to meet anybody that was in the documentary, did you?
Not physically.
Okay, that's okay. What, did you get to talk to him on the phone or just an email or something?
Screen. Because I proposed the questions that were going to be asked.
Oh, nice, man.
So when Gypsy's sitting there talking about her and Linda getting beat up for rolling a barrel down there, this was something that Casey Fields had asked me to clarify what it was. If it was an actual drum or...
what's funny? Why don't you... okay, that's funny that you said that, because I think in the other documentary, she said it was... I'm not kidding. I think she said it was a conga drum. It was a conga drum for playing, and Manson was so fucking mad because it was an instrument and they needed it and you don't want it broken, and that's why he beat her up. I'm not bullshitting you. I'm pretty sure when she said like a barrel drum, I'm like, no, I think you said it was an instrument, a conga drum. And Manson hated the fact that you rolled a conga drum down the hill because it was an instrument that you guys needed because it's a band. So that's what I'm not kidding. I think she says that in the other documentary, and she just forgot. But basically, the same story, but she said drum in one, then conga drum in the other. So, but the same story.
No. So I proposed the questions that were to be asked as well. But she wouldn't talk about the whole Hawthorne shootout or any of that. And some of her timeline was wrong as well.
Oh, no.
But that's kind of expected because it's been 55 years. So she conveniently left out that Leslie and Linda approached her and asked her if she'd be willing to go kill somebody to help Bobby.
You can see that.
She actually testified to that.
Right. She seems to look in every documentary she's in. It's kind of funny. She'll say some really good things about Manson, then she turns around and then says some other stuff. I mean, same thing with Diane Lake. They both kind of showed that. Because I'm sure at times it was actually kind of cool and fun and magical, and it wasn't like drama and traumatizing every single day. Like everybody makes it sound like, oh, from the first day they got together, it was just been traumatizing. I'm sure they had a great time together, and it was actually kind of cool. It was kind of fun at times, and just like anybody else who's wandering up California in a bus during the 60s, during that free-spirited time, I get it. So, yes, I'm sure there's plenty of times there was magical. It was nice. It was great in 67 and then 68. And then as we start heading through 69 to the summer of 69, yes, things get a lot darker and we have what we have. All right. All right, everybody. I don't want to keep you too much, man. We've been doing about an hour show, and we probably talked about nothing about the fucking show, and I probably just talked about the entire time. This is probably the easiest interview you ever done. No, but let me just say this, bro. You did a great job. Look, it was cool, man. Look, it was good. This community, me personally, with the people that we know, we're just expecting that big power punch, man. We want more because we've heard it. I get the common people who, all these other podcasters who are not into it like my community is. It might be a lot different for them and they're enjoying it. But for us, this is one of the reasons why we kind of are a little bit more critical about shit, because we've heard the same shit over and over and over. And yes, the best thing about this documentary is you get to hear Manson's voice. I love hearing it. And I love the fact that it comes in nice and clear, HD, and it's real crisp. It sounds great, and you can understand him. That's great. It's great, man. It's great. But it's not shock value for us. It might be for the other people that are just getting into this stuff. But I hope the next stuff that comes out, man, is just better and better and better. Because I know, and I'm sure from what you've said, I know there's a lot of other great stuff on there, and that's what we want to hear, man. We really do. All right, people. I don't
know who this Gary Landry is, but I have no clue what he's talking about.
Ask him who posted as Gary Landry. I don't know. It could be just a troll. I
don't know.
Well, it doesn't matter. Well, anyway. But before we end, is there anything you want to say about Making Manson, man? Anything you want to just give us or anything else? I'm done with questions. Anything you want to add to it?
Hold on to your britches. More is coming.
More is coming. How's great. How's John doing? Besides, well, actually, wait. He said he's going through some stuff right now. Well, I hope everything goes well for him. And I hope
His father passed away. His father just passed away.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks.
But other than that, he's fine. I talk to him daily, several times a day.
Oh, that's cool, man. Well, tell him I said hi, and then yes, I send my regards, man. Sorry about that.
He's actually going to be on TLB tomorrow night, from what I heard.
Oh, nice. Be on TLB. Okay, so that's right. So Bruce Davis, TLBR radio tomorrow will be on Saturday, which is great. So because football's on Sunday. So
unless they change it, I heard it was tomorrow night.
It's tomorrow night. Could be normally Brian does the Sunday night show, but whatever, it could be that night. All right. Yeah. All right, people. This is it. Stoner Van Houten. Thank you. Look, I want to thank James Dawson from Manson's Archives. If you've not subscribed to his channel or whatever, you got your website, please go to mansonsarchives.com. Check him out on Facebook. Check him out on YouTube. Doing great. He is from Making Manson, the documentary that's on Peacock right now. Check it out. Hey, man, thank you so much for coming on here, bro. I really do appreciate it.
Maybe you can get Billy up here.
No, you know what? I know I can. Real quickly, it's funny that you say that. I think he actually wanted to come on tonight, but I'm like, you know what? I just kind of want to talk to James because I'm terrible at this. I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash tomorrow. Like, hey man, that was a terrible interview. You didn't even let him talk and all that kind of crap. So I'm really bad at this shit.
How long have I known you?
I know. I know. We've known each other a long time. We know each other a long time. I know you are. It's all good, man. It's always good between us, bro. I love you, man. You're great, man. I might criticize and do this, but you know who I am. You know, this is the way the show is. You have to remember, I will always promote everybody else's stuff. If you want information, this really isn't the show to come to. This is the platform where I can just project everything else that's out there between Nicholas Schreck and George Stimson, who I love, Michael Channels, and fucking Neil Sanders, and yourself, Bo Emerson from fucking CieloDrive.com. Everybody, and even Brian Davis from TLBR Radio. He does a great job over there. Check him out tomorrow. John Michael Jones will be on TLBR Radio. He's been on with Brian a lot. So let's go over there and we'll check it out tomorrow night. If it's not tomorrow, we'll definitely be on Sunday.
I don't know what they're going to talk about.
Brian normally does the show. He normally does it on a Sunday night at 5 o'clock on the West Coast, 8 o'clock on the East Coast. All right, everybody, we're done. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to thank James Dawson from Manson's Archives. Thank you so much, man. Hey, man, we'll talk again, my friend.
Yeah.
No problem, man.
Take care.
All right. First of all, I'm not going to lie to you, kids. I think I really fucked that up. But it's okay. All right, we're out here. Take care. Happy birthday, Lee in Oregon. I'm a small ranch worker. And it fits me to a T. If you want some family conversation, come on and smoke a bottle with me. Take a tour with me now. I'm a Santa Susana Pass. I got lots of family knowledge, and I'm stoned off my ass. I'm the small ranch worker, and it fits me to a T. If you want some family conversation, come on and smoke a bottle with me. Stoner